10 Best TV Shows Like The Abandons. When it comes to the Western, TV-loving audiences are, sadly, no longer living in the golden age of the genre. Once upon a time, there were countless Old West adventures on display across the big three networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC, with programs like Gunsmoke, Bonanza, and Rawhide dominating the market. But ever since Yellowstone wowed audiences in 2018, there's been a renewed interest in small-screen horse operas that has pushed the genre back into the spotlight. While there may not be as many now as there were back in the 50s and 60s, shows like Netflix's latest hit drama, The Abandons, prove that the Western still attracts powerhouse performances. Starring Gillian Anderson and Lena Headey, The Abandons is set in the fictional Angel's Ridge on the edge of the Washington Territory, where Anderson's Constance Van Ness lords over the frontier town with a greedy desire for more. Headey's Fiona Nolan, by contrast, leads a small group in Jasper Hollow, namely her 4 adoptive children, who stand opposed to the Van Ness takeover. Armed with exceptional performances from its leads and plenty of soapy flavor, The Abandons is a revenge-focused take on the Western that hinges on the showdown between 2 rival mothers who will stop at nothing to protect the legacy they're building for their children. Whether you loved The Abandons or were a bit underwhelmed, there are other dramas out there with similar styles, themes, and Western flair worthy of your time and attention. So, if you were left wanting more after The Abandons ended on that major cliffhanger, consider giving some of these shows a try. You may just find your next binge on the wild frontier godless. Just before Yellowstone made its mark on television, Scott Frank created a memorable miniseries for Netflix that, perhaps along with its revival of Longmire, helped establish a foothold for the Western genre on the streamer. Godless follows injured outlaw Roy Good, Jack O'Connell, as he is on the run from his former mentor, Jeff Daniels' truly frightening, one-armed Frank Griffin. But things get all the more complicated for Roy when he stumbles into the New Mexico town of La Belle, run almost entirely by women after 83 of the men were killed in a mining incident. Finding favor in Michelle Dockery's Alice Fletcher, Roy hides out at her ranch as Frank closes in, putting all of La Belle in danger. Despite playing on many of the traditional genre conventions associated with the Western, Godless was an obvious precursor to The Abandons in that it's a largely female-driven drama. The series ran for 7 episodes on the streamer and caught the attention of critics and audiences everywhere, proving that there was still something novel about the dusty genre. With stellar performances from its main cast and breathtaking scenery to boot, Godless is a riveting tale of independence, justice, and redemption that is tough to press pause on. It's certainly one of Netflix's most underrated miniseries that's worth a watch. The Sun. For a Western epic all about legacy and fighting for the future of one's family, another brand worth giving a go is AMC's The Sun. Starring Pierce Brosnan as the older Eli McCullough and Jacob Lofland as his younger self, the series largely covers the final years of the Texan cattle baron's life, splicing them in with his younger days alongside a band of Comanche. As the old ways of the Wild West wind down, McCullough wrestles with his own place in the world, as well as with holding his lifelong empire together, especially after discovering oil beneath his neighbor's land. Brosnan leads the series with a powerful performance that rivals any of his other work, proving him to be the genre's most unsung star. Based on the novel of the same name by Philip Meyer, who helped co-create and develop the series, The Sun ran for 2 seasons on AMC, ending with a proper conclusion that flashes beyond McCullough's life to that of his granddaughter. With similar themes to The Abandons and plenty of intense character-driven drama, this is a series that you won't want to miss. It's no wonder that this one is considered one of the best modern TV westerns there is, even if it wasn't overly beloved by critics. Still, you can't go wrong with a historical drama that covers not just one time period, but several, especially as each new development adds dramatic layers to its lead character. The English. If you haven't heard of The English, it's a show you've probably slept on for too long. This joint venture between BBC and Prime Video follows Emily Blunt as Lady Cornelia Locke, who has travelled west to kill the man who killed her son. Joined with Pawnee Scout Eli Whip, Chase Spencer, Cornelia travels the Old West to secure her revenge, only to find so much more than she bargained for. While it's easy to lose track of some of the details, Cornelia and Eli are the reason you make it to the end of The English, which will surprise you in more ways than one. Perhaps the most obvious connection here to Netflix's The Abandons comes in the form of the basic plot itself. Just as Gillian Anderson's Constance Van Ness seeks the truth about her son's disappearance, which is really a murder, on that series, so too does The English meditate on some of the same ideas. The fact that both are English women is also a factor. Of course, we're not really meant to root for Constance on Netflix's latest Western drama, but Cornelia is a protagonist well worth following on The English, even if she doesn't always get things right. If you're looking for a quick binge, this 6-episode miniseries will be a perfect follow-up. Hatfields and McCoys. When it comes to intense blood feuds that tear whole families apart in the process, there is no greater tale than Hatfields and McCoys. Based on the historic Civil War-era rivalry, this 2012 miniseries pits Kevin Costner's Devil Anse Hatfield against Bill Paxton's Randall McCoy as their families go to war, trading blows and blood like one exchanges money with a shopkeeper. Forbidden romances are born, fallen sons are buried, and these two men flirt with losing it all in the conflict. With powerhouse performances by its leading stars and an ensemble cast of recognizable players, Hatfields and McCoys is one intense drama that won't let up until the end. The Abandons, of course, largely hinges on the familial conflicts between the Van Ness empire and the makeshift Nolan family opposing them, and while neither the Hatfields nor the McCoys are incredibly well off, the same sentiment is true here. This three-part History Channel epic pulls directly from the stories of the original conflict itself, honoring the history as well as the men and women who made it. Of course, whether Hatfields and McCoys actually qualifies as a Western is up for debate, considering that it takes place east of the Mississippi, but whatever way you slice it, it's a period drama that will complement The Abandons quite nicely. American Primeval. Another stellar Netflix frontier drama, American Primeval hit the streamer in early 2025 and set the stage for how horrific, violent, and unforgiving the West could be. As Sarah Holloway, Betty Gilpin, flees westward to avoid her neglectful husband and start a new life for her son, Devin, Preston Motor, they are guided by a mountain man named Isaac Reed, Taylor Kitsch, who attempts to dissuade them from going any further. At the same time, the series chronicles the conflict between the Union Army, the local native